Hello and welcome along to the Panto podcast. This week my guest is Andrew Fleming, who is a very seasoned professional who, I'm not going to lie, couldn't quite be himself in the nicest possible way during the interview. As an impressionist and character comedian, Andrew excels at what he does. Very funny man. He's got some great stories to tell. He also does do the odd impression here and there during the interview. Some of you may know him from Britain's Got Talent, and as well as that, his numerous pantomime work. So please sit back and enjoy a very entertaining Panto podcast. So hello and welcome along to the Panto podcast. My guest today is Andrew Fleming. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, good afternoon and good evening. What day is it? We've been in the theatre about 3 weeks. We don't know where we are. Oh, is that a Zoom?
That's a Zoom.
I got a Zoom. I told an old one, a big one, probably about 15 years. I use it for recording music on.
Do you play that?
Yeah. Guitar's my main thing, but I write tunes and sing them and stuff.
How did it all begin then for you?
Well, it hasn't begun yet.
No?
I'm 93 and I'm waiting for it to begin. It has I don't know, I suppose when I was at school, I used to always get backed up against the wall by a load of kids wanting to beat you up, so you'd do sort of impressions and jokes to sort of get your way out of it. So I'd do the impressions and then they'd beat me up, because they were terrible impressions. Yeah, so I remember when I was a kid, we had an old sooty puppet, which was an original one from about 1958. You know, it was, I think Harry Corbett had actually given it to me mum and the puppet, and I used to do sort of shows behind the couch and all that, And then when I was a kid, my mum knitted me a lamb chop. Remember Shari Lewis? Lamb chop. So yeah, I used to do little shows behind the couch and tell stories.
So the entertaining was always in there from there?
Yes, it's in the family, because my great-grandma, Grandma Axford, was a musical girl. And other things, according to the family. Because back in the day, being an actress was akin to being a Jezebel, wasn't it? And I think she was a bit of a Jezebel. No.
Yeah. Preset, please, for the top of the show. Preset, please, for the top of the show.
Because he knows her. He knows her very well.
So, when did you find that out about Grandma?
About the same time the police did, I think. I just remember as a boy, because we got quite a theatrical family. My mum's side, her dad was a puppet maker. A string puppet maker, and he used to put on shows in Greenwich where they lived, and he was also an artiste, so he used to do oil paintings, and then Mother dear, she was did a bit of I was going to say Gilbert O'Sullivan. She did a bit of Gilbert and Sullivan, so there was that on that side. And my dad's got about 15 brothers and sisters, and to this day there's opera singers, and my cousin is in a group called the London Quartet Cantabile, which travels, and they're all very arty and unhinged and highly strung, or should be highly strung, most of them, from the nearest yardarm.
I'm not going to get a straight answer today, really, am I?
I don't know what you mean about not being straight. Oh, no.
So the impressions then, when did that actually translate to becoming... to tread the boards?
Well, I'm trying to think. I was in a band when I was sort of my late teens, and I wanted to be John Lennon, I wanted to be the next Beatles, and so I used to write songs, and we got on stage, and frequently the amps would break down or something, and you'd be between songs and having to fill. And so I used to sort of just start saying silly things. And in the end, I realised I'm probably better at that than being John Lennon. So it started to... I thought, there's something in this lark, sort of standing here and talking cobblers and making people laugh.
And that was it?
Yeah.
And what was the first sort of break that you had?
It was my ankle. It was going up the steps of a knocking shop in Newcastle. No, actually, do you know one thing? At one point, I was on the dole, and... this was sort of in the 90s, and in those days you had to kind of make an effort to look like you were actually trying to find work. And I was in there, and the lady that had interviewed me for the dole was looking at me, so I looked at the cards on the board, like, I'm looking at the jobs, and I saw one, it said singers wanted on the Isle of Wight. So I thought, what's that? And when I applied for it, it was Warner's Holidays, looking for blue coats. And so I thought, I'll go for it. And so that was kind of the first thing I did. And when I got there, I ended up I was your host and compost, because they got me on the mic, and interviewing people, and then I'll be doing sports day, I'll be doing a stupid commentary, and it's all kind of started that way, I guess.
Peterman Company, this is your half-hour call. You have half an hour, everybody. Half an hour.
Half an hour.
The house is now open.
Half an hour.
The house is now open.
And so's your gob.
So blue coating then?
Yeah.
When did that sort of translate to more stage?
Well, I suppose we did do our own shows, like variety gang show type stuff, and you could put your own stuff in. So I used to put my guitar playing in, and I used to do impressions and dress up as Mick Jagger and run around, giving it all that stuff. And so that got me onto the stage, and then I thought, just by sheer randomness, I ran into a producer called David Lee. Oh, the lovely David Lee. He's a living legend from Panto Productions. Through a friend, he just needed someone to be the host of his summer seasons in Norfolk, and he gave me the job. And then he said, by the way, do you sing? I went, oh yeah. And he said, do you do comedy? I said, well, allegedly. And then bit by bit, the role grew, and he gave me, we were doing 6 different shows a week, and I was just in every sketch, I was singing everything. We did like a West End show, and I was playing Fagin and Professor Higgins and Joseph, and then I was doing the sketches, and then we did rock and roll night, so I was doing Buddy and Elvis and all this kind of stuff, and it kind of gave me a really good grounding. Well, no, that was behind the caravans. And a good grinding, as in, just literally, it was like about 20 years' experience crammed into 6 months, So,
did it take its toll then?
It took its toll on the audience. No, I really enjoyed it.
How old were you then?
God, I was. Oh, hello. He's back. No, he's gone. He's gone again. I was a late starter, so I was 29. 29. Yes.
And what about influences then? Because comedy is just your thing, isn't it? But
yeah.
What sort of thing then were you watching then as a child?
Well, of course, I watched Norman wisdom films. They're always on, weren't they? On a Sunday afternoon, if it was raining, which it usually was, it'd be a Norman wisdom film, Up in the World on the Beat, Pitkin and all that. So I loved watching that stuff. And then I was lucky enough to be around when Morecambe and Wise were still broadcasting. I used to watch them, and then the two Ronnies, I never liked them as much as Eric and Ernie, but So and a Mike Yarwood show was on, and we got the Lulu, Cilla Black, and when she was doing her sort of family sing-song shows with the young generation, all the dancers, and I grew up with all that, and watching Dad's Army and Steptoe and so, oh God, Harold, you dirty little bleeder, oh God, you was revolted. I said, love all that, because it was on all the time, and The Good Life, and these brilliant sitcoms that are out, and I just thought, this is good, me like, and I think obviously I'm a product of my era a bit, because that's the stuff that started me, and that's the stuff that I really like to this day. I think like the sitcoms have gone, haven't they, basically, and the ones that they do still do are a little bit too cool for school. They can't be quite as broad and carry-on-ish as they used to be. So you have to be a little bit too PC these days, don't you? I find with sitcoms, even stuff like Citizen Khan, which I think is quite a good rollicking modern sitcom, but it's still got a few characters that are kind of put in to kind of redress the balance almost, and be like very sort of 2019 and very normal, and whereas I prefer things to be just plain silly. It's a fantasy world, we don't need seriousness.
Do you think that's part of it as well, silliness?
Yes.
The zaniness, because I do get that. I don't know if the listeners do, but I get this impression as well that to be serious is no.
Yes.
It's just boring.
If you want serious, put the news on.
Yes.
If you want silliness.
Depression.
Yes. No, if you want depression, come and see my show.
But do you find that the silliness sort of takes over?
Yeah, especially when we're doing Panto and stuff. Like at the moment I'm playing Captain Hook, which is weird for me because I'm sort of a baddie-ish. But when I'm playing, Buttons or Wishy Washy, you can go very cartoony and very silly. And it's great because the audience enter that world quite easily. They'll take it, they'll accept that old school sort of comedy. Whereas on telly they seem to be given a diet of, it's all a bit politically, not necessarily politically correct, but a bit too modern, a bit too cool for school. Not people, I see some of these people on, you know, like, you know, sort of, you know, we're live at the Apollo with McIntyre, and he goes, "This is great," and he brings on someone, and they seem to, they're like restrained, almost like they've got a comedy muzzle on, and they don't let themselves go, and they don't be cartoony and rubbery and proper funny. They always try and keep a certain reserve and and I think you need to forget that if you're going to be proper funny. If you look back at, you know, sort of Kenneth Williams and all these kind of people. Oh yeah, there's a pair of knockers at the door. Yes, when you see Kenneth Williams and you go, oh yes, he's not holding back, you know, he's not trying to be posh, he's not going, yes, I'm a serious actor now. He goes for it, doesn't he? Yes. And, you know, they really chuck themselves into it, don't they?
How did you even find out you were great at doing these impressions?
I think I was just bad at being myself. I think that was the main thing. You know, I've got a really boring voice, as you probably noticed. It's very colourless. You know, it's just nothing. So I just think you see these bright, colourful characters. Even when I was a kid, you know, I went to the record library and I just picked up Hancock's Half Hour. You know, I was like, oh, cool. You know, and just hearing his voice, you know, I thought, that's a good voice. I'll have that voice. You know, it's better than mine.
One comedy grip you haven't mentioned yet, the silliness of the goodies.
The goodies. Yeah, goodies, goody, yum, yum. I certainly did. And I think the goodies are slightly under...
Sonny's and use the toilet.
Yeah.
Sonny's. Are you recording?
Yes. You're live on Crime Watch at the moment.
This is going to be what I come in.
Yeah, this is going to be... I'll just leave these bits in. Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, where were we? I forgot.
The silliness of the goodies.
Oh yeah, because I used to watch that live. You know, for example, the Kitten Kong. You know, the one with the. I saw that live in like 1974, and it was, you know, and Python as well, and Faulty Whatsits. Yes. I saw that when it came out. Because I remember all the kids at school going, "There's a good programme on tonight, that bloke from the Monty Python's in it," and it gradually caught on, and so I saw it all first time round.
Which was then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And they only made 12 episodes of that, and it was great. It still stands, you know. And also, the old classic that everyone says is that when people tuned in to Eric and Ernie on Christmas Day, like literally half the country were watching together, and there's a good feeling about that. Whereas now you watch stuff and you know that there's a million stations, people are streaming things, watching DVDs or on some station 153. There's not a collective viewing anymore, is there?
Is that what you like though about theatre as well? The fact of people coming together?
Yeah, that's it, and they can't get out. You know, they might try, but you know, it's and you kind of try and give them that feeling that they're seeing something that no one else has seen. Obviously, it's scripted and that, but those moments of comedy. You know, where but of course we do stuff called cods, don't we? You know, where something happens, like the moustache falls off or something, and people go, "Oh, it says, so I can't believe that happened. It was great. We went in, his moustache fell off. It was great, and it all fell to pieces." And it was all carefully rehearsed, wasn't it? You know, we knew it's all carefully rehearsed ad libs, as they say. But there are genuine moments as well, especially in something like we're doing Peter Pan at the moment with the lovely Mr. Bobby Dunrow, and he goes out there and he doesn't say the same thing twice. Or sometimes he sings things twice when he's trying to remember what the next line is. But no, you will get anarchy, you'll get a touch of zaniness from Bobby, you know, and he will go with it, you know, and so people genuinely see something fresh.
Do you like that though, as well as a performer?
Yeah, definitely. I think
doesn't throw you off, right?
No, I love it. Ad-libbing, more the merrier. In fact, I'd rather go on. If someone said to me, "Would you like to go on stage and do half an hour of material, or would you like to go on stage and have nothing, and we'll just throw something at you, and I'll bounce and I'll do that"? You know, I'm much better at ad-lib and spontaneity than I am at learning stuff.
Have you ever done much improv?
Oh yeah, my whole life's been improv, to be honest. Yeah, I've never done it officially. Although I used to do a job. There was a TV station that used to train interviewers, and you know, there's quite a lot to being an interviewer. You have to work with an in-ear monitor. You have to work with, you know, reading off the cues and all that sort of thing. And so they used to train them. And one of the things I had to do was interview celebrities. And so I used to pretend to be a celebrity, and they would do their research. And so I'd be Michael Caine or, you know, Michael Douglas or Tony Blair or someone, and they would have to interview me, and I would have to be, you know, I'd try to be Michael Caine, you know. And people would ask me a question, they'd say something like, so Michael, you know, what was the first film that you ever saw that got you into films? And I don't know the answer, obviously, but I had to go, well, I remember I was at the Hackney Empire, and my father was, he worked at the so-and-so, and I went to see Robert Donut in 39 Steps, and I was just making crap up, but kind of believable rubbish, you know what I mean? Sort of something that Michael Caine might say. And so that was always a good challenge. And people would go, how did you know all that about Michael Caine? I said, no, I just made it up. And I like being challenged to make things up.
Have you always had that wacky imagination then?
I think so, yeah, and I've never managed to quite channel it. It's quite frustrating because I do cabaret stuff. I do an act where I dress up and sing as different singers and do impressions and stuff. But I find that more restricting than just bouncing off people. Mind you, I got arrested in a car park for doing that last night. But oh dear. But yeah, I would love to be part of something like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Because I play instruments and sing, so and music's a bit the same as comedy. You can sort of riff on it, and you can sort of go off on a tangent, and you can go along certain lines, and somebody, I used to do a thing called a blues character called Howlin' Windbag, and it was sort of based on the blues, from the 1950s. There's some of those characters, Blind Lemon Pie and all those people, and I used to just go out with a guitar and just kind of say to the audience, what gives you the blues? What gives you the blues? And people go, my wife, or ironing, or tax, or whatever. And you just make a song up. And you get it to rhyme and stuff like that. And I love stuff like that. It gets the old cogs turning, And because people know it's real, because they try and give you the toughest subject to make up a song about.
Shame we haven't got a guitar.
Well, you're very lucky we haven't got one.
You mentioned earlier on about when you were at school and it was easier to do funny voices than to get beaten up.
Yeah.
What sort of funny voices then were you doing at the time?
I suppose, again, going back, it was some of those ones, your step-toes and all that sort of stuff. From that era, because we're talking like 70s, and I'm having a bit of trouble and all that stuff, that was all that was going around, which is, it's never got old, that one, has it?
And did it make you popular at school then?
No, they beat me up twice as often.
Did they?
Yeah, because
really?
No, they didn't actually. I got away with it. Yeah, yes, but I used to give them me dolly mixtures, and they went away.
How bad is that? Kids are cruel.
I know. Look what you've done to me, you swines.
What was school like then?
It was classic school, really. Yeah, we had a proper primary school, with the old red brick and a little playground. It was a proper sort of, I guess it was early century, so proper. We had a bell, and the assembly and proper old desks. It was classic schoolroom scenario,
And was there much of an emphasis on theatre or performing?
Not massive. It was a bit dodgy, actually. We were a bit. We did school, what do they call it? Pantomime, not pantomimes. We do the Mary and Joseph bit, and all that. But it wasn't until I got to secondary school that I did a bit of drama. But even then, I was in the sixth form, and I suddenly did a couple of plays. And I was very pleased because I got the Outstanding Award for Drama award when I left school, which really hacked off all the kids that had been doing it all the way through. So that was nice.
And do you think that stayed with you to be serious? To actually view it as a serious part?
Kind of. There's something about it. When you're in the wings and you look onto the stage and the light is on, it's like a really rarefied atmosphere. It's like a magic place. And when you step on the stage, especially when you're acting, there's something really good about acting with people. And everybody's in it, they're believing it. And when you're doing something silly, you might be in a play, one of those plays where you walk in through the French windows and kind of go, oh, I see anyone for tennis and all that sort of thing. But when you're on a set and there's chairs and tables and drinks and it's real life but on a stage, but it heightens everything. So it's really weird. So when you have a cup of tea on stage or something and you're stirring it and putting the spoon down, it makes you think about having a cup of tea more than you would in real life. You just do it. But when you're acting it, it brings a sort of a strange magic to doing it. It's very odd. And when you pick up the phone on stage and you have to pretend to talk to someone, trying to make it real and it gives you a satisfaction. It's very odd, but I like it.
Have you ever thought to go more into serious theatre?
Well, with a comedy act like mine, people think they have gone into seriousness. yeah. Well, I wouldn't mind actually, because at the moment, a friend of mine's asked me to do a play in Edinburgh, which would be quite nice. You know, proper acting. I thought, yeah. Well, here he comes.
15 minutes, everybody. You have 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Till the end of the world. Yeah. So yeah, that would be good. It'd be scary learning lines though. That would be really scary. Pages and pages of dialogue. Oh, blimey.
So you've never done anything like Shakespeare or...
Nah, I never done Shakespeare. He never done any of my stuff. So I thought, well, you know, nah. But I did do plays, you know, when I was younger, but it killed me learning the lines. It really, I just haven't got I don't know how people do it.
What about then with pantomime scripts?
It comes in bite-sized bits, and also there's well-worn paths in panto. And when you get into a gag, you know where you are with a gag, and I can talk my way out of anything in pantomime. But in a real thing, if you were playing, you know, something like, you know, Cassius or something, and you start to go, yeah, knickers, knackers, knockers, that word, and you go wrong, you can't go, oh no, and just make it up. You can't blag it. You have to stick to it. It's like the Quran. It must never be misquoted. You must be absolutely spot on. You don't have that liberty to change it. Whereas when you're doing cabaret and panto, you can say what you want, you know, within reason.
Does it still then excite you when you get the panto scripts?
Yeah, well, it scares me to death because I normally get them about a day before. But when you're playing Buttons or something, ideally you get the script a month in advance and you have a look through it and you put your gags in and you put your voices in and you go, oh, I won't do that line, I'll do that line, you know. And then you meet with the producers and that and have a chat, and by the time you actually get to it, you've got it all down pat, and then some topical stuff will come up and you put that in, and so it's just a lovely balance of old chestnuts and current stuff.
What about then playing the baddie? Because you said now you're playing obviously Captain Hook.
Yes.
And you're playing it with a dash of
vodka. No,
I'm trying to think of his name.
No, Terry Thomas. There's a bit of Terry Thomas. Nice. There's a bit of old, a bit of old. What's his name? You are a little smasher. A bit of Leslie. I mean, really. There's a little bit of in there because he's a bit of he's a bit of a fop, isn't he, Captain Hook? Yeah. Very vain, sort of strutting popinjay.
Mustachios.
Yes, and he's bad, but he's a fruity old thing as well, you know.
How was that though, going from the goodie to the baddie?
Well, it takes the strain off a bit. Although actually the last few days I've not been bad enough. I think I need to get badder again because it's getting booze is like getting laughs. You have to get them. But I think trouble is I wrong foot them a bit because in one scene I'll be really nasty, going, "It's me, I'm going to tear your head off and throw you in the ocean." Be really nasty and shouting at the kids. And in the next thing, I'm in the ghost gag, kind of being all silly. So people, I'm probably not bad enough, you know. Well, bad, as in, what a ham, but you know what I mean, not evil enough.
And when you first treaded the boards as... I'll start that again, when this Newcastle taxi goes past.
They found out where we are.
When you first then were given the role of Buttons, was that quite a pressure?
It was a pressure because the costume was very tight. I can tell you, going back a few years before they had all this sort of, lycra and Velcro, this suit was like electric blue, and I had to be wedged into it. And there was about 15 poppers you had to do up, and you're done up in this little tunic looking like a bellboy. And they used to call me Buttocks. Which is, it's lucky I was facing the right way. I don't think what they'd have called me if I'd been facing the other way. But yeah, and it used to ping. I'd be on stage and it'd go, and Cinderella get more than she bargained for.
Was it though a nice role to play?
Yeah, because it's a bit different of all the roles, like Wishy Washy, Muddles. Buttons is kind of probably the most identifiable. And there's a bit of acting required, a bit of pathos in that one. You've got to pull off because I used to work for a fantastic old producer who sadly died a couple of years ago, Johnny Spillers, I'm sure you're aware of. And he used to say, Mr. Fleming, he said, if you can make the kids cry doing Buttons, he said, you have cracked it, my son. And he was right, because you can go out there and tell a joke and get them a laugh, but to go out there and really get them to cry for Buttons is a bit of a... if you can do that, it's a bit of a coup.
What about them pantomimes that you've seen? Any people that really you think made an impression on you?
Well, that's a good question. You might have to do an edit point here while I have a think. Oh, dear, let me think. Well, I saw Harry H. Corbett in Panto in Catford, I think, in about
10 minutes, everybody. You have 10 minutes.
Oh,
10 minute
God.
call.
What doesn't you stick a sock in it? Oh, God. So I saw him live and he made an impression on me because I think just because of Steptoe Son. But yeah, I'm trying to think. The best person I ever saw in Panto was Billy Pearce. Par excellence, because he's right, he's an absolute dynamo talent, that bloke. And then he turned around and sang brilliantly. His timing was great. He's one of those. Obviously, he's a pro's pro, and everybody knows who he is. I just think he should be more of a household name than he is. But I think he was probably born 30 years too late.
I think he'd agree with you on that one.
I think he would, actually, yes, yeah.
Because he was a guest on my very first podcast.
Was he really? Oh.
Well, you need to listen to him.
I do. I've barely caught up with television. Mine's runs with string and steam.
I'll show you how it's done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm not technically very good.
No, it's well. Shall we have a break there so you can get ready? And then we'll do some more. You look just like bloody Clouseau then when you did that.
Really? Clouseau? Yeah. I know that, yeah. The old tape recording ploy, yeah.
Beds?
Yes.
Oh, no, it's not recording. It's falling in order.
No. Of the goons. We love the goons, don't we? Yeah. Love the goons. Hello, that was one of those, yes. Hello, cuz my good man. Hello, Boto. Hello, yes. Remember that thing he used to do? What was it? He said, don't come near me or I'll lay you out with the great Bert Student method. He goes, oh, shut up and take that. He goes, wait till I see that twit, Bert.
So, over the years of performing Panto, has anybody taken you under their wing when you first got started?
Yes, a lovely little thing in Scunthorpe. Oh, see what you mean? Yes. Well, I think probably the first Panto I did in 1994, which is a quarter of a century ago. So I could actually go 25 years, darling. But it was a lovely chap called Johnny Burslem who'd been playing Dame for years, and he was probably knocking 80 then, and he had a million stories. He said, I worked at the Windmill Club, I worked here, I worked there. He did all sorts of nude reviews and worked with all these girlies and stuff, but it was a bit wasted on him, if you know what I mean. But he had a lovely wife. Those were the days,
Yes.
and they were a proper showbiz couple, and he gave me loads of advice. Actually, can't remember any of it, but that was good. And there was a lovely chap called Eric Schofield. He was a proper old northern actor, big lad. He looked like Tommy Cooper, that breed of man, big hands, big kind man. And he says, one thing you do, lad, he says always clean your teeth before you go on stage. Never. His were in a glass most of the time, but I sort of tend, things like that are important. Because just on a very unsavoury note for the listeners is that when you get up close and personal with people on stage, they're perspiring in costumes, and perhaps the costumes haven't been washed, or perhaps they haven't showered, and they might breathe on you. It's like paint stripper. Should always. So it's a little tip for young people: is always be fragrant when you go on the stage.
20-minute interval, everyone. 20-minute. We will start again at 6:27.
Yes, so that's just a little tip for the youngsters. If you're going on stage, have a quick splash of the old aftershave for the girls, and a swig of the old vocal hogwash, and just keep yourself fresh. Because otherwise, I've worked with some mingers, I can tell you honestly. They leave the stage, but their presence is felt for some minutes afterwards.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh. Gone with the wind.
Right then, well, I need to ask you about Britain's Got Talent. Because a lot of people would have had you on in their telly boxes in the corner of the room a few years ago. How did that come about?
Well, they go around looking for people, and they sort of asked me to do it, and I didn't fancy it, to be honest, because I think, in my personal opinion, I think it had kind of peaked, and it was starting to become a bit of a circus, and I didn't want to do it. So they just kept phoning me, and in the end, you get lulled into it. You get talked round. It's kind of, you get hello, and then someone will phone up and go, "This is Dominic so and so. I'm the head of production. We really like you the programme." You go, "No, thanks. thanks, it's not for me. And then eventually they send you the head of talent from Psycho, phones you up and kind of goes, it'll be great for you, and if you don't want to use it, we won't use it, and we're looking for someone like you to win the show, to give us a bit of kudos and all that sort of thing, and you get lulled into it. So I said, all right then, I'll do it.
And the interview that you gave pre-performance, you said that sometimes you're on the bill with other people and they can be a bit treated better.
Yeah, because on the day that I did the first appearance at the Hippodrome in Birmingham, I did a 90-minute interview followed by another 90-minute interview, and then they ask you other questions, and you literally do hours and hours of stuff, and then they take 10 seconds of what they want. They'll ask you a question, they'll sort of go, so what was your first break? And you'll say a funny answer, and then they go, no, can you say that again? Don't mention that. I'll ask you again, and can you say something else? And in the end, they ask you the same question about 8 times, and the last answer you give is crap or not very good. It's the least entertaining answer, and so they have got hours of stuff. And so they can piece together anything they want and make you look good, bad, indifferent, and it's ooh, can you hear that in the background there?
I have to get clearance for that.
Yes, I'll have to get Clarence for that. Oi, Clarence, can you go and smack them in here? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, there goes Clarence, yeah. Thanks, Clarence. Yeah. So, yeah, and in the contract, it says, when you sign the contract, I'm not kidding, the contract was a foot deep of A4 paper, and we had to go to a meeting and have it explained to us, because there's no way you could read it and understand it. And one of the clauses, it says, the producers reserve the right, this is an entertainment programme, and we reserve the right to present. In other words, they can edit anything they want and create fiction, and that's what they do. And it also says at the end, it says when you sign it, it goes, put your name here, and it goes for the world and the universe. It actually says for the universe. They've got it that sewn up, because Simon Cowell's probably thinking, you know what, in 5-10 years we could be in space, I won't have you signed. So he signs for the universe. I mean, good for him. I mean, that's forward thinking. Yeah, so I signed all that. Yeah, God.
Did it help you at all, though?
Not well. It could have done, but I decided to just kind of turn my back on it when I'd done it, because it went so well on the night. The audience were fantastic. It was at the Hippodrome. I'm not sure how many it holds, 2,000 or 3,000, and they were. Well, it was like a Beatles concert, I was looking out there, and they laughed at everything, to the point that I had to stop. I had to do that thing of putting your hands up, going, please, I haven't finished yet, I've got more. And I couldn't get through. A 3-minute act took me about 8 minutes to get through, because they were brilliant. The audience were brilliant. He's back.
10 minutes, everyone. You have 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Yeah. So it went fantastically well. And he's like, when I was ushered onto the stage, it was one way, and when I was ushered off the stage, it was different. I was down a different corridor which had red carpet. Suddenly I was surrounded by people, and it had gone so well that I was getting the VIP treatment, and all this, and it was brilliant. I felt so elated, and I really couldn't thank that audience enough. It was the best feeling ever. They were so kind,
because the way they edited it was they didn't like you to begin with,
and then they did.
They warmed to you and you won them over,
whereas on the actual night when I first went out, and you just chat to them before you do your spot. I did about 6 minutes then, and that went so ridiculously well that Alicia Dixon said, you don't need to do a spot, you love him already, don't you? And they go, yeah. And I hadn't done anything, I was just chatting to them, and I thought, this has gone so well, and I was thinking, it's in the can, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be good, I was really excited. What a fool I was.
Where were you watching it then?
Well, I watched it about a month later when it was on the telly, or probably later than that. But on the night I thought it was great. I thought, oh, this is good. This I'm going to get something out of this. It kind of felt like, at the time, sad as it sounds, I felt like this was the moment I'd been waiting for. Genuinely. Because the audience were so great, the team were great, the producers were great. They said, right, we're going to do another interview with you, and they dragged me off, and we did an interview for about an hour, and all the crew were going, so that was a really great interview, fantastic, and it felt like being on the Parkinson show. I really thought, this is great, such a positive experience. But the mistake I made was I did a few songs, little bits of comedy songs, and I changed the lyrics, and it's a copyright minefield. So I was doing a Jessie J song, and I put some comedy words to it so that Tom Jones could sing it, And I think, I guess the Jessie J people said, no, you can't do those words for our song. You gotta pay money if you're gonna alter the words. And I think I probably was too expensive to show, so they cut it all out and they cut my act down. Literally about 80% of it was cut out. So it's a shame.
But where can people see you now doing that kind of act?
Probably in the local YMCA. And I was doing stuff like Warner's, the Warner's centres and stuff like that, and comedy clubs. And then I've just started doing some ships and cruising and stuff like that, which is very nice. I've been doing it there. Yeah.
So you do enjoy it, though, the whole travelling round?
Well, yeah, I do like travelling, actually. Although it can be a bit of a drag sometimes when you live in Kent and you've got a gig in Norfolk. And you've got your 5 hours driving there, literally around the M25 and the A12 and all that, and you get there, and then you've got to suddenly be all lively and go, well, hey, and get on well with the sound man. Oh, I didn't get on well with that sound man. You have to get on well with the sound man and the team, and you have to be all jolly, and then you go and do your hour, and you go, yeah, and you get all washed and brushed up, and then you get back in the car at midnight and think, oh, I've got another 4-hour drive now. So that can be a bit leery. I always say that a lot of sort of acts, what we are really is drivers who just get out now and again and have a sing-song. That if I was a driver, I'd be rich. The amount of mileage I do. If I was delivering car parts, it'd be great. When I go to Norfolk, if I could drop off that clutch for that Astra, that'd be fantastic. But no, it's just a byproduct of being an act. Is that you have to be like a Voyager,
the singing Uber driver.
Yeah, the singing. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, people go, Uber, how are you? Yeah.
Right, well, it's come to that part of the podcast where I like to ask people their dream panto, where you can be in it, you can be sitting in the audience, you can choose the theatre, the production, and the cast, alive or dead.
And if they're alive, could I have them dead as part of my wish?
I'm sure there are names that you'll tell me after this recording.
Yeah, when you don't turn it off, you've got me, blackmail me for life.
I don't work for Psycho.
No. Yeah, I just am a psycho. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting one, because I should have prepared for this. It's like going on Desert Island Disc, isn't it? Something that occurs to me, I guess, for Panto, say if you took Cinderella as the classic, I'd say somebody like, not that there's many people like Norman Wisdom, would be a lovely Buttons, wouldn't he? You can imagine him doing the pathos and he'd be able to sing lovely, and he'd have just enough for you to believe that Cinderella would love him, but just be silly enough that no, I'll have the prince instead, So yeah, he'd be a lovely one. Yeah, that'd be. I don't know about theatre. I'm trying to think what theatre I'd go for. What I'd go for is not a specific one. I'll have to think. Is I'd go for an old one with a lovely auditorium, preferably red, sort of plush velvet and gold and ornate plasterwork and beautiful boxes and all that. Something like Darlington or somewhere like that, or one of those beautiful interior like that. That would be lovely. And somewhere that's got a really nice backstage area where all the dressing rooms look stooped in history. When you walk in there and they've got the light bulbs around the mirror and they're all a bit, you can imagine Olivier and various people and great turns and musical stars being in there. Because we've just done a few theatres on this tour where the dressing rooms, it looks like backstage, it looks like a car park. It's all breeze block and white and it's all soulless. It doesn't look theatrical. So somewhere that looks like a right old proper theatre from every single aspect of the place. So I don't know if any of your listeners know of the theatre that complies with this description, then let me know. Because even the Palladium these days, they've done up all the dressing rooms and they're all sort of grey and a bit sort of soulless. I don't know. I think they should keep theatres. The backstage should be as interesting as the auditorium, I think.
So we're going Cinderella.
Yeah.
Generic theatre,
yeah.
Matcham, of course.
Yeah, yes.
Non-Wisdom Buttons.
Yeah.
What would be your Cinders?
Well, I've got to think about it, because I was sort of somebody. I always liked all the old actresses like Glynis Johns and Joan Greenwood. Those pretty little things from the 40s. Those kind of lovely girls that could play a real sweet Cinders. Yeah, that would be nice. And say, trying to think like Baron someone like a Cecil Parker, you know, a little sort of, there's a bumbling old, you know, the proper old hammy actor. That would be great. And dancers, I think we should bring back dancers. You don't get enough dancers in shows these days. You get about 4, and they're all different heights. So I think we should go back to the days when there was a troupe of, you know, a dozen beautiful girls. Yeah, real proper hoofers, you know, that looked fantastic and did everything in unison, and they were immaculate, you know, proper. They dress the stage as well as look as being brilliant dancers. That would be good.
So you'd be watching it, or would you want to be in it?
Wow, that's interesting. I'd quite like to be in it. I'd like to be Buttons and pick a beautiful cinders for myself, you know. Extensive rehearsal needed, you know.
So not Norman Wilson, then it'll be...
Yeah, well, Norman could be me. He can understudy or something like that. Yeah. I suppose you could have to get somebody modern, it like Keith Fleming or someone. He could come in, you know, and sort of to bring people in, because you have to get people on build, don't you? To get, you know, get the modern audiences in as well. So someone like him, maybe. Because I don't know, I always think that, because Keith Lemon... Some people think he is Keith Lemon, but he's Lee Francis. You know, he's already a character. So I think he actually could probably play quite well in Panto. Uglies. Oh, now you're talking Eli Woods, maybe?
Oh, what a name.
Yeah, he's a good one, isn't he? He's a cracker. And I used to work with a lovely comic that all the pros will know called Arthur Oates, Chubby Oates. He would be a lovely, wouldn't he? And then you've got your old Mother Riley types, or even, and of course we're always looking at men, aren't we? Dragged up. But there's been some grand old gals as well, like Margaret Rutherford, you know, or even Beryl Reid, or someone probably play a good ugly. You know, although they have to be male, don't they? Really, I suppose they have to be. Yeah.
I always think it's wrong to say a woman's ugly.
So do I.
Even if they are.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bad form. Yes, they often tell me I am, but I can accept that. You know.
Do you think looks play a big part in the casting as well?
Totally. I mean, you know, talking about typecasting, you know, if you had a film and they say, right, we're looking for a lead girl to be a sort of a Diana Dawes type. In other words, brassy, platinum, very attractive blonde. You know, he's no good getting Pat Coombs to play a Diana. You know, and it's kind of. I know people have a bit of issue with that sometimes, but it's a bit like in real life. If you wanted someone to be a fireman, you're going to want a big, brawny man. You're not going to need a little short, fat geezer. And it's the same with, you know, somebody playing the prince needs to be handsome, and somebody playing Cinderella needs to be pretty. You know, it's just the way it is. You know, but because I kind of fall between. I'm not handsome. I'm not good looking. I'm not handsome, but I'm not completely. Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. This evening's performance will resume in 3 minutes. This evening's performance will resume in 3 minutes.
If there's any time left after your pronouncements. Yeah, I'm type-wise, I'm a little bit stuck, because I'm not hilariously, you know, someone, I'm trying to think of a good comic, someone, they say Lee Evans or Norman Wisdom, they look funny. And they're funny little blokes, and so I'm not quite that. But on the other hand, I'm not Cary Grant either. So, but I can sort of twist myself towards being cartoony looking, and try and make myself funnier with body, just the general attitude and the voice, you know.
So whereabouts can we see you this Christmas?
As yet unbooked. Yes, it's the first time ever that I've got to April without being booked. So, you know, I'm up for it. I've got a lot to give, and by God, someone's going to get it, you know. Yeah. Oh yes, Mrs.
Well, on that note, thank you.
Oh, the fee has arrived.
The fee's arrived.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
Well, on that note, thank you so much for taking part in the Panto podcast.
And on that note, thank you very much for having me. And if you haven't had me, I'll be in the other dressing room in the next 5 minutes.
Cheers, mate.
Well, thank you. Ta.